Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. First tonight, our borders have shut to 1 million Sydney-siders as that state records 16 new locally acquired coronavirus cases. The worsening outbreak has seen several Tasmanians caught up in a COVID scare at Sydney Airport, leaving many in limbo for hours.
On the tarmac and ready to take off before an announcement sent this plane into lockdown.
They've instructed everybody to remain on board the aircraft while they're going through their process.
A COVID scare grounding the Jetstar flight from Sydney to Hobart.
An hour later, we got an update saying that there was a potential case on the plane.
Authorities contacting 2 people on board, informing them they were close contacts, leaving hundreds, including many Tasmanians, stranded.
We were sitting on the plane for 3.5 hours and we were given not a lot of information because I don't think they were given any information.
Eventually disembarking and taken to a temporary holding area inside the airport. Another anxious wait for answers ahead.
Most of us are kind of just awaiting any more news that we can get because it's been over 3 or 4 hours now.
Until finally the mystery passengers tested negative. Those who wanted to continue travelling allowed back on the plane. But the saga follows a worsening of the New South Wales outbreak. 7 areas around Sydney declared high risk, around 1 million people living under restrictions.
Please abandon non-essential activities. Please don't attend social gatherings unless you absolutely have to.
We have provided further support into the Public Health Emergency Operations Centre in New South Wales from Commonwealth officials.
Other states have already put hard borders in place. In Tasmania, anyone who's visited those high-risk areas since June 11 will not be allowed in. Locals returning home will be required to quarantine for 14 days.
We have kept Tasmania safe over the past 18 months and it's important that we don't hesitate to take strong measures on our borders.
It remains unclear what that means for Tasmanians now allowed to fly home on that plane from Sydney when they finally reach their destination.
We've got 3 kids at home that are staying at various spots and so we're a bit worried what's going to transpire when we do get home.
Meg Sides, 7 Tasmania News.
One of our oldest Tasmanians has sent a message to the rest of the state after receiving her first jab in Hobart. 105-year-old Jean Hutton says she chose to be vaccinated to enable her to see family and friends and protect them from the virus.
Jean Hutton is proving age is no barrier to having the COVID vaccine, rolling up her sleeve for her first AstraZeneca inoculation, but not before answering the tough questions.
Now, can you just confirm your name and your date of birth? Jean Hutton. Yep. 1916. How old, Jane? Makes me 105.
Mrs. Hutton has lived through 2 world wars and the last pandemic, the Spanish flu of 1918. And juggling a busy social life, she's choosing to be vaccinated to protect her loved ones.
Well, I have family and friends who are visiting all the time, and I think it's not safe for them if I'm not.
Exactly right. We've got to all work together and keep everyone safe.
That's the idea.
With plans in the works for her second jab.
And hopefully I'll be here and we'll do it all again.
Mrs. Hutton holding the honour of Tasmania's most senior person to be vaccinated.
Around 45 people, over 100, have had the vaccine in different settings, but Mrs. Hutton is definitely the oldest at this point. Mrs. Hutton is the first 105-year-old that's got the vaccine.
More than 100,000 doses have been administered in the state so far, among nearly 7 million Australia-wide. And for anyone thinking of taking up the jab, there's a simple message.
Don't wait, vaccinate.
Elizabeth O'Neill, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania Police says it will no longer be pursuing firearms offences against former Liberal candidate Adam Brooks. But pressure remains on Peter Gutwin to explain how much he knew about the charges and other allegations during the state election.
Adam Brooks has spent months in the firing line, But today, Labor took aim at the Premier, demanding to know how much he knew of the allegations against the former Liberal candidate.
Prior to the pre-selection of Adam Brooks, did you have any reason to believe he lacked integrity and was unfit for public office?
I had no dealings with him that would have indicated to me that he was not a fit and proper person to run as a candidate.
Mr Brooks was charged with ammunition storage offences during the state election. Today, Tasmania Police revealed it was dropping the case. Following legal advice, there was no reasonable prospect of a conviction.
We have in this state and in this country the presumption of innocence until proven guilty.
But Mr Brooks is still before the courts in Queensland, where he's facing firearms and identity charges. He's yet to enter a plea and will return to court in July. He resigned last month when those allegations came to light.
It's no longer about Mr Brooks. He deserves procedural fairness. He does deserve to have his time in court. But this is about Mr Gutwin and the decisions he chose to seek power in this parliament.
The Greens argue a beefed-up Integrity Commission could find answers.
There are still questions to be answered by the Premier about why Mr Brooks was a candidate.
While independent Meg Webb wants an inquiry, she has questions over Mr Brooks and the legitimacy of making Tasmanians go to the polls so early.
Because when we've got questions swirling about that go unanswered, that undermines our democracy, and it's just not good enough.
Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
Police are investigating a caravan fire in Devonport, which has caused $5,000 damage. Authorities were called to Madden Street just before 8 p.m. last night, closing the road for 2 hours while they battled the blaze. Emergency services remained on the scene overnight, but are yet to determine the cause. Tasmania's energy sector has met to discuss a path forward for the industry as it looks to become a major renewable energy exporter. But some members of the communities impacted by new developments have hit back, saying consultation isn't up to scratch and they want a voice at the table.
With large-scale energy developments in the works for Tasmania, the industry's key bodies met today in Devonport.
This conference is very important to share our vision, I think, and it's bringing all the major parties together in Tasmania as we go towards doubling our renewable energy generation.
A key networking opportunity for the industry, the program included talks on infrastructure and emerging technology, among other key issues.
It's about harnessing that at all levels of the community and making sure we listen to the community as we roll our vision out.
Not everyone feels like they're being listened to.
No social licence! No social licence!
The conference overshadowed by protesters, themselves looking to save their towns from being overshadowed.
We asked for an opportunity to speak, but we weren't afforded that, and so here we are to state our claims about the con that we think is the whole renewables boom in the state.
Demonstrations also held in Stanley last night.
No wind farms! No wind farms!
100 people voicing their opposition at a rally outside the town hall.
I'm not interested in the money, I just want what I've got now to stay the same. That's our main argument, is it's in the wrong place.
The main reason is it's got an outstanding wind speed. In doing this for 18 years, this is the windiest site that I've ever seen.
The rally preceded a community session by the proponents, Epuron. They're planning 12 150-metre tall turbines for the north end of the peninsula.
In the last few weeks, we have picked up a lot of concern from the community here, and it's great to have people turn up and give us their input today, and we're learning from that.
Protesters say the consultation is no more than a box-ticking exercise.
We would have to have genuine community consultation and to actually listen to what members of the community say, and to have the strength to step away from the project if the community said they didn't want it here. And I don't think that's on their agenda.
Epuron says a development application will be submitted to council in coming months, and it's planning more meetings with the community. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
$3 million will be spent on finding more workers for the aged and disability care sectors. The state government says free training placements will help 600 people find jobs.
These are critical sectors that we know need staff, and also this provides great opportunities for Tasmanians wanting to enter these exciting industries.
Roughly 4,500 extra staff are needed in the sectors over the next 3 years. A stoush is brewing between the state government and a United Nations committee over the management of the Tasmanian Wilderness World Heritage Area. UNESCO is pleading with the Premier to halt all further development in the region until a cultural assessment has been completed. But the government says the plan is impractical to implement and it's working to find an alternative.
The government believes this direction needs to be corrected and is seeking clarification. Will also be providing a recommendation in respect to an appropriate alternative position.
In a few years' time, unless the Gutwein government changes its policies, there's a real risk that the Tasmanian Wilderness World Heritage Area could end up on the World Heritage Committee's in danger list.
The Greens remain worried about the prospect of helicopter tourism in heritage areas. New police constables are on the beat in the state's north as of today. 13 graduates are starting around-the-clock shift work under the guidance of senior officers. Among those joining Launceston's team, a top cyclist who worked in hospitality before turning to Tasmania Police.
Had enough of cycling. I wasn't going to be where I wanted to be, and I thought that policing was a really good change for me.
I don't know where it came from. I've never had any family members in the job or anything, but it's always been there.
Fair change from when I did it 17 years ago. There's a lot more uni. There's a uni-based component, so there's a different level of education for these guys as they come out.
The constables graduated from Rokeby last week.
Northwest grads locked away wins over Derwent in both the men's and women's Premier League hockey games overnight. 4 goals to Jai Walker-Kidd was the highlight of the men's 6-0 romping. Grace Calvert and Josie Crowden found the back of the net for the women, the end result 2-1. Former Hobart Hurricane Jonathan Wells had smashed a half-century on debut in the Pakistani Super League. The Tasmanian-born batsman helped Peshawar beat Islamabad, sending the team into its 4th PSL decider. Wells played in the Sheffield Shield for Tasmania between 2008 and 2015 and the Hurricanes until 2017. And our NBL 1 teams return to the court this week, but Launceston will be preparing to farewell one of its own. Aisha Renise has 4 weeks until she takes on the world of college basketball. She trained solo today, but Aisha Renise credits those around her for her college ascent.
Been around players my whole life who've been to college and been through the whole process.
She's heading to Cedar City, Utah, where she'll have constant demands to condition, train and study, something she says is a little daunting.
They just mostly said it's tough, and that's just a one-liner really.
Tough for Bendigo too, with the Tornadoes boasting its Kelly Froling, Kelsey Griffin double punch this week after Froling finished her time in isolation.
Be a good game to people get off their couch and brave the cold and come down to Elphin and watch both of those young ladies.
In the men's, Bendigo will be watching new Thunder tall Mike Carina, but given how well the Thunder is going, he won't be in the starting lineup.
It'll take some adjusting, but I'm not going to play in heaps of minutes. He'll just do bits and pieces where he fits in.
The Thunder's Taryn Armstrong will be away with the national under-19 side, the Emus. But the Chargers have secured the NBL's Jack Purchase to work alongside Tad Duffelmeyer around the ring.
Tad putting heat on the ring and having 3 or 4 guys that can flat out shoot the ball, it's going to be very difficult for a team to cover everyone. So Purchase probably brings that additional scoring factor that we probably need on if someone's down on a night.
The Chargers men and women are back-to-back Friday night in Kingborough, while the Tawns and the Thunder are at Elphin and Ulverston on Saturday night.
Good evening. Temperatures ranged from -2 at Butler's Gorge to our maximum today of 16 at Low Rocky Point. Hobart just 9, Launceston 10, Burnie and Devonport 13 degrees. Smithton recorded 15 along with Strawn, Low Head and the Islands all 14. Friendly Beaches 12, Grove 8, Lyreweenie 7, Bushy Park a very chilly 6 today. Extensive high cloud streamed over the state, once again sitting over a layer of low cloud and valley fog. That solid band of cloud is still there, tracking across from Western Australia over the nation to a low off the South Australia coast. Onshore winds brought cloud to Western Australia. Tomorrow a large high proceeds across Western Australia, but all the action is with the low and cold front, which will affect most of the east of the nation. North to northwesterly winds at 15 to 25 knots, but to 30 knots early over the west and south. Lighter winds over the inland lakes. We do have a strong wind warning, that's for western waters between Southeast Cape and Sandy Cape. Tomorrow for Hobart, 15, cloudy, 15 the top for Cygnet, becoming cloudy as well for New Norfolk, 14 degrees. Launceston expecting 15 as the top with showers, Devonport showery as well, 14 and 13 for Campbelltown. Burnie a high of 14 with showers. Showers for Strawn and Smithton, both expecting 14 degrees as well. 15 the high for St Helens with a shower or two, partly cloudy for Swansea, and 14 the top for Fingal with a shower. On Friday, most of the state should cop another shower or two. Showers again on Saturday, a little later in the day over the north and east. Snow above 900 metres. Sunday kicks off with some wet weather as well before contracting to the west, south and Bass Strait Islands. 17 in Perth tomorrow, a showery cool day in Adelaide, a late shower for Melbourne. Some heavy falls forecast for Canberra tomorrow. A windy day along with a shower in Sydney and showers possible in Brisbane. Cloudy in Hobart and 9 at the moment. Launceston's maximum today was 10 before 3 o'clock. It's currently 11. Bit of rain over Devonport at the moment and 12 degrees. Sorry if the weather was a bit slow tonight, Kim. I'm recovering from my first dose of vaccine. Can I have wine tonight?
I am not a doctor. I'm not giving you any medical advice. Probably not. That's your news for now. We'll have news, sport and weather updates throughout the night. Thanks for joining us for our midweek local news. Good night.